Hi guys, welcome to a new video from Mind the Grad. I'm Valeria and today I have a special guest for you, Anastasia from StudyLand.
Hello, guys.
We have quite a new video format. We're going to talk about two very different countries. I'll talk about the UK and Anastasia will talk about Poland, and we will discuss what it is like to study in different countries. In two of these different countries, completely different, but at the same time, I know there are people in the audience that kind of considering which country in Europe should you go for to study. And even though these countries are very different, there are some very big similarities and big differences. So if you probably know me quite well because you're on my channel. I'm Valeria and I'm an education career consultant, mainly focusing on the UK and helping international students secure jobs after their studies in the UK. And Anastasia will talk about her position at StudyLand and how does StudyLand help international students in Poland and in Europe.
So maybe I would quickly introduce myself. First of all, thank you so much for having me today. Yeah, you guys probably don't know me. My name is Anastasia, and as Valeria said, I do work at StudyLand, the educational agency which is based in Warsaw, Poland. And every year we help hundreds of students from all kinds of different countries actually come to Poland and start their studies here, start their lives here. And I'm really glad that today we're gonna have this like little comparison of two different European countries, like the UK and Poland. Definitely both of them have really different educational systems and perhaps opportunities after studies. So I hope that today's video will make it more clear for a lot of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. Yes. So let's jump straight in. First thing that most people are concerned about when choosing which destination, which country to study abroad at is the cost of study. So I'm going to address that big elephant in the room and maybe start with the UK. The cost of studying in the UK is pretty high. It's probably one of the highest in Europe. If we're considering US and Canada, and then the price could be a bit higher there, but in Europe it is considered one of the most expensive countries to study at. The cost for undergraduate course would be around £19,000 for international students per year, just in fees. That's more than $20,000 or euros per year. And for a master's degree, which usually is 1 year course, it will be around 20 to 30,000 pounds as well, just in fees. That's, in my opinion, a big financial investment. The great thing is that in the UK, master's is only 1 year and you can find a bit cheaper courses, but for a decent university, it'll be 20 to 30,000 pounds. What about Poland?
Yeah, definitely in Poland it is easier because it's way cheaper. As a lot of you might know, in Poland is not in the Eurozone, even though we're in the European Union. So we don't use euro, we use Polish zloty, which makes everything way cheaper than in other countries, even though like definitely UK doesn't use euro, but pound, well, pound is pound.
Except the UK.
Yeah, and in Poland, you would most likely pay for a year €2,500 till €3,500. So of course there are cheaper, there are more expensive programs, but most of our students are choosing programs which cost 25 till 3,500 euro per year, which is definitely probably 10 times less expensive than the UK.
That makes sense. And it's a great opportunity when someone is saying, well, studying in Europe or studying abroad is expensive, getting international experience is expensive. Well, actually, it is not an enormous amount of money, especially if you're doing a postgraduate study and you worked for a few years. It is reasonable. You can save that amount of money to go and study in Poland. From the UK perspective, it is quite a big chunk of savings, and it's still possible to save that amount depending on your financial situation. But also I know that some international students have to take loans from their government or look for scholarship options?
So let's talk about the cost of living if we're talking about cost. So maybe I'll quickly start if it's okay with you. So as we already discussed, Poland is definitely way cheaper than the UK, and cost of living are definitely lower. So for example, you can, a lot of our students, they decide to rent actually a room, not the whole apartment, as this is like a very popular choice among like all students pretty much. And in order to rent the room, you would need 175 euros till 250 euros. If you're renting an apartment, it's going to be 300 or 400, but definitely there are choices below 200 euro per month. And if we're talking about food, you would need like 100, 150 euro per month. And transportation is actually really cheap, even in the capital city Warsaw. You would pay around 15 euro per month having this like student card and student transportation card, which students actually have like 50% discount, which makes it really affordable. And yeah, I think that just haven't paid that tuition fee and haven't paid for the room and the food, it is not that much of a money. Of course, well, of course it is, but this is an investment which will definitely pay off in the future, because you're going to get a European diploma. You're going to be able to find like a really good and well-paid job, perhaps in some international company and etc.
Yeah, and we can talk about that maybe in the next point. Yeah, I'm quite impressed with the prices of Poland. I can't say the good news is that living in the UK is not 10 times more expensive, but it's still way more expensive. The thing with the UK is that it really varies where you are in the UK. If you're in London, comparing to a small town on north, or maybe even if we're talking about Scotland or Wales, the prices are going to be different. And London seems to be one of the most expensive locations in terms of transport, in terms of rent. But I think that on average, you should expect at least 400, 600 pounds per month per accommodation, obviously depending on your personal preferences. There is always a possibility to share a room with 3 other people, but some people prefer having the whole flat to themselves. So it's really hard to measure, but I think at least 300, 400 pounds on average in the UK you would need for rent. And then if we're talking about food and transport, I think that around 150 to 200 per month is at least what you need to expect to spend on different things like food or housekeeping or supplies. And transport, again, really depends on where you live. In London, the transport card would be at least 100 pounds for tube and so on, even with a student discount. But some people prefer to walk or take a bus once or twice a week. And if you live on campus, then you don't have to spend any money on transport at all, because you'll be near all the facilities. So yes, it's a little bit more expensive. You have to be very careful when deciding which city you're going to live, which accommodation you're going to go for, because location can save you money in terms of transport. But the final thing, what I want to highlight for people that come in to study in the UK, is that working part-time is usually allowed, and it's 20 hours per week, but it's going to be really, really hard to cover all your costs with just working part-time. It's possible, depending on how, your expenses and how much you make, but it's really hard. So you have to also have some savings for costs of living before you come to study in the UK.
Yeah, and let me just add that in Poland, there are actually no limitations on the working hours as a student. So if like someone of you are a student in Poland, then you can actually even work full time. You can work like as much as actually you can afford, as much time you have, right? So probably you can make all that money which you spend, but it just depends on the timetable on the university. Some students work full time, others work part time, the other ones don't even work. So it just like really depends, but it's possible.
That's great. I think the same in UK. Haven't been connected with so many students. Really depends on your personal situation. But not having a limit is a great opportunity, I think, for students, because in the UK it's capped very strictly at 20 hours per week, and sometimes you might, have a week where you want to work 30, or you have, you want to work later shifts after your studies. So yes, obviously that's a great benefit, but if you can manage your time, another problem is people working too much and not paying attention to the studies. If we're talking about formalities, student visa is a big concern for many international students because they worried it's just something so difficult to get. Let's start with Poland. How difficult it is to get a student visa, and what's some main requirements for that?
Well, I cannot say whether it is difficult or easy because obviously it depends.
Yeah.
But StudyLand as a company, we do help each and every one of the students during the whole visa process. So like we make sure that it's stress-free. We make sure to cover all the documents. We just like tell every student exactly what they need, like when they need it. And so it's not gonna be difficult with our help for sure. Like this is our main goal. And when you get a student visa in Poland, you're able to travel through the whole Europe. So it doesn't only limit you to Poland, you can actually travel everywhere. Obviously for the UK, you need a separate visa, you need a UK visa, but every country which is in the European Union, or to be more precise, in the Schengen zone, then you can just travel freely without any limitations, pretty much. Well, there are some formalities, but it's really difficult to break them. So having a Polish visa, student Polish visa, is definitely can bring a lot of opportunities for travelers as well.
Wow, I didn't know. That's great. I think that having a UK visa can only help you if you want to go around the UK, and that's quite annoying because a lot of students don't realize that, because obviously they hear EU. Now UK is not in the EU anymore, but it is difficult. You have to apply for a new visa to go to a Schengen zone. But in terms of getting visa, obviously not an immigration advisor, but from my experience, government is not trying to trick you. They're not trying to not let you go in and study in the UK or maybe even Poland. They just want you to follow some basic rules that are clearly stated on any government website. And if you're going to a university that is trustworthy and you got the confirmation of studies, that's the main thing, because there are some universities or courses that people just apply for that are cheap just to get into the country, and that makes a problem. But if you're going to a trustworthy university that is a proper course, you're going to study, and you're going to prove that you have some kind of funds to support yourself in the UK, and obviously fill in all the forms, and perhaps depending on your person's situation, there are extra documents you need to provide. But it's not that they're not trying to make it impossible for you. They want you to come to study. Because you already got the offer. They want you to come to the UK because it's a great investment for the economy. They want you just to have a good time. They're not trying to not let you in. You just need to follow the rules. And in the UK, if I personally applied myself for a visa, because I had experience with visas before, but if you're struggling in Poland, obviously use companies like StudyLand. In the UK, there are similar firms as well. Get professional help, and then you wouldn't have any problems with getting a visa.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I know another very common question that I get about Poland and the UK is, can you study in the UK or in Poland without IELTS or any other language certificate?
Obviously, if you want to take some international certification exam like IELTS or TOEFL, like it's great. A lot of students are taking IELTS, and the minimum requirement is 6.0. But a lot of students just choose not to take it for some reason, and maybe it's too much stress, too much time, or whatever. But if they're sure that they have this like language level, they can actually take some kind of like Zoom or Skype interviews with the universities, kind of like in-person interviews. It usually lasts about half an hour. They just have like just a conversation with some professional from the university, and during this half an hour conversation, the person just can see if the student, if the potential student has enough English knowledge in order to actually study in this language, right? And there's no need to take a test. It's totally free. It's in person with the university. Well, now it's online, obviously. And yeah, so it's definitely less stressful, I would say, and it's like more of a chill conversation. And yeah, this is like a great option for those who decide not to take it, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's quite stressful for many students because it's such a strict exam setting. You have to book it in advance. You have to pay for the test. In terms of the UK, I'll be honest. If you want to study at a decent university, it's going to be impossible to study without IELTS. It's to do with the university acceptance. So obviously they don't want you to come and not be able to speak English and not able to pass the course. So yes, most likely you need IELTS, or there are so many options that you can prove that many people don't know about. So university will tell you what other English requirements or English language proof they accept. Sometimes your degree in your home country can be proof if you had some study in English done. Maybe there are other types of exams you've taken that are still considered to be requirement. And the good thing is that some universities will ask for the requirement once they already accepted you. So if you want to apply, sometimes they don't require you to already have the requirement. They will allow you to get it once you get the offer from the university. So then you can, once you got a place at university and you want to, let's say, study at Cambridge or Oxford, they can say, well, we will let you in as you get a very high score in IELTS. But yeah, and the second point is that sometimes the scores are not that high as you would expect. Different universities, it's not the same score quite for all universities. That some universities will accept you with quite a lenient scores. You don't have to be super fluent in English. But the logical question that I have for Poland is obviously in England, the main government language is English. You study in English, you survive in English. What about Poland? Do I have to speak any Polish to survive? Do I need to speak any Polish to work? What's your take on that?
Actually, we do get asked this question pretty often, and my answer is no, you don't have to speak Polish. Of course, it's really nice if you do. It's really nice if you learn the language, or at least try to. Obviously, like, Polish people would be impressed, and plus it's going to be really useful. But at the same time, in Poland, pretty much everyone speaks English. So like we have such an international community, especially in larger cities, for example, as Warsaw, Krakow, right, and some other cities. And we have so many students, so many people from all different countries, from all over the world, and definitely you won't have any problem like finding a common language with people. And what is more, all young Polish people, they did study English at school, and usually their levels are pretty high. I have to admit that a lot of older people here, they don't speak English, but I don't think students are gonna will have to face older people that often, right? Except for in certain situations. So definitely knowing English will be enough, because everyone would understand you, for example, in a restaurant, in a store, in a hotel, etc. But it's really nice to know Polish, but it's not required for sure.
Yeah, I guess you can learn once you're there. If you come for bachelor's or master's around 2 years, it gives you time to brush up or even begin to learn language if you have motivation or the need. And then by the time you're graduating, you want to find employment, if you plan in advance, it's not impossible to learn a language within 2 years. People have done it.
No, and even for working here, you don't have to know Polish, because personally, I do know so many people who have been living here for like quite a few years, who don't know any Polish, and now like a lot of them are working in some international corporations which basically work in English. One of my really good friend, he's from Albania, he's been living here for 5 years. He doesn't speak any Polish. He finished university and now he works at a Citibank, which is like a really big deal, and he works in English and he has like no problems like whatsoever, right? So most international corporations, they do work in English, even in Poland.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have some ex-colleagues that moved to Poland as well. They're actually British, so it is possible without language. If I have to give my advice, as a career consultant, obviously you'll have more doors open for you if you speak a local language. But it doesn't mean that you need all those doors. Sometimes you just want to work in international corporations. But some people might want to have more options or go into different industries that are more focused on the local market. Then you do have to probably try to speak or brush up on your Polish. So yeah, so we're talking kind of in the area of working after your studies, staying in the country of where you did your course abroad. So what are the post-study visa or post-study rules for work in Poland? So what can a student do once they graduate from the core course?
So actually in Poland, there's really no such thing as post-study visa. We call it, this is a residency permit. And in Poland, we do have this really convenient thing that all people who have graduated from Polish universities, it doesn't matter whether it is bachelor's or master's, they're eligible to apply for a residency permit. This is a 1-year long residency permit after completing your studies. During this time, you're kind of able to look for a job, or you can actually work already. But this is really convenient because if you barely graduated and you don't have a job yet, but you want to get it in Poland, you want to stay here, you can easily apply for this kind of residency permit for university alumni in Poland. This is not too difficult, and we also do help with that process. But the most important thing you need to have is the diploma from your university, and then you're legally allowed to stay in Poland for 1 more year. And once you get a job, for example, during this 1 year, you're applying for a next residency permit based on your job. And this is usually for 3 years once you have a job. So this is not a problem for sure as well.
Wow, okay, that makes sense. I think the UK is kind of similar now. Just 1 month, they have been having this new visa called post-study work visa or graduate visa, how it's officially called. And basically, once you graduate from a British university, you can legally stay in the UK for 2 more years if you apply for this visa, which is quite an easy process. And you can work in any job, look for a job, or just live in the UK, and after 2 years, this extra 2 years, you do have to find a new way to stay in the UK. Most natural one is to find some kind of employment that will be able to sponsor you a visa, and it's obviously a great opportunity. A lot of international students find it a very attractive feature. There's been a surge of interest coming to study in the UK because of this opportunity. The downside is that it costs money. It's around £2,000 to apply for that visa. Or you have to pay in full. It's almost as 1 year of studying in Poland. It's actually the same amount. So it is obviously expensive, but you can make that money back easily if you work during that time in the UK. So yeah, after that, if you want to get some kind of residency or permanent residency in the UK, you'll have to switch to a new visa after that for 5 years. And usually it is a work visa 5 years, and then you can get a permanent residence. That 2 years on this post-study work visa or graduate visa does not count towards your settlement in the UK or permanent residence in the UK. So the good news is that you're not required to switch to that graduate visa. You can find a job straight away. And that's when I come in, actually. That's my line of work, helping students secure a job straight away after the studies. And yes, if you want, you can find a job straight away, but it can be a little bit difficult. If we're talking about finding a job in Poland after studies, it's probably very hard to find real statistics because it's hard to measure. But how would you describe employment prospects, graduate prospects in terms of career in Poland?
Well, my answer is always it depends. Because it really does depend on, for example, the city you're in, whether it's a smaller town or a big city like a capital city or some other big city. It also depends on the university you graduated from. So us as a company, we try to work only with the top schools in Poland, which after which it is actually easier to find a job rather than after some like smaller schools, if it makes sense. Now, like Poland is definitely growing so fast. It's prospering right now, and a lot of international companies are entering Poland, no matter the pandemic. And they actually need young international workers. They need people who speak different languages, who have barely graduated, perhaps. And yeah, they just. I never heard that it's difficult to find a job in Poland. Like, if you really want to, it's like, of course, we have heard that it's difficult to find a job like in Italy or Spain, but in Poland, I don't think we have this problem. Like, the most important is like your will to work, right? If you want to work, you'll find a job.
Yeah, I think the same applies to the UK. Obviously, it depends on the candidate. It depends on how much effort you want to put in. Now we have this 2 years of post-study work visa, almost no excuse to not have enough time or not, trying enough to find a job. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but with enough effort, good strategy, it should be possible. There is always circumstances that come in. We can't always promise you're going to get the job. In the UK, there are a lot of companies, there are lots of industries. It's a booming economy. I mean, as much as possible during the COVID, but there are a lot of different areas you can get to: finance, engineering, professional services, medicine. What I can say is that it is difficult to get a work visa from all sectors. Because not all companies have the right to sponsor a worker for a visa. They need to apply for a license, and it costs money. It's a process, it's paperwork. So you need to realize that maybe you won't be able to convince any company to sponsor you. You might have to be flexible for some time. You might have to research your options, but it is possible with great planning, with the effort, and with a graduate route of 2 years. You should, with the right dedication and hard work, you should have a very high chance of securing a permanent job or getting a permanent work visa or long-term work visa in the UK. But again, we can't promise you that it's 100% going to happen for you. If someone in the audience decides to study in Poland, how can they find you, or how can you help? Obviously, all the links to StudyLand are in the description of this video, and also to my services, but maybe you can tell us a bit more about what you offer for students.
Yeah, we also do have a YouTube channel where we post videos every once in a while from the universities about the studies process, some interviews with students, so it might be useful. We do have an official website with a contact form, so if any of you decide to contact us, you can do it directly through our website. We do also have an Instagram, and we post actually on our Instagram quite regularly. So yeah, make sure to follow us. And and we as a company, we help with the whole process. We help you choose the university, we help you apply to the university with the English test, with the visa. We'll help you after you come here. We'll meet you at the airport, we'll help you find accommodation, we'll bring you to that accommodation. So literally, we just make sure that the whole process is just stress-free. and we take all the stress on us, and we just want you to enjoy like the beginning of your new life in Europe, in Poland, the beginning of your new studies. So, and let us take all the stress.
That's great. I wish I had that when I was coming to the UK. You know, when you're in a new country, in the airport, you're like, where am I going?
Yeah, no internet. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll buy you a SIM card once
Wow,
you
wow.
arrive, don't worry.
Yeah, that's great. So guys, you can go to the description of my video. You get all the links to StudyLand. I partner with StudyLand a lot. They actually featured on my YouTube channel before in terms of their channel is, if you go to channels to on my YouTube channel, you'll see StudyLand there. From my side, I help international students secure jobs in the UK after the studies. You can contact me about that. If you found any more similarities or differences, or if you have any more questions about studying in Poland or UK, let us know in the comments. We're happy to engage with you. And I want to thank Anastasia for preparing today, spending time with me, giving such great information, energy. I've known Anastasia before. She always such a pleasant person to have a collaboration with. And I hope to see you again on my channel. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I can definitely say the same. And thank you so much. And I really hope to see you soon.
See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.